What is up, guys? Welcome back to another GOAT Power Bikes unboxing video. In today's video we have the GOAT Power Bikes Mini GOAT. The specs on this bike are nuts. It comes with a 30 amp, 40 amp, or 50 amp battery size. For performance, it comes with 72 volt, 3000 watt output. The top speed is between 45 and 55 miles per hour. The motor is 3000 watt rated with a 4500 watt peak. 175 Newton meters of torque, and the range is 30 miles at 30 amps, 40 miles with a 40 amp battery, and if you have a 50 amp battery, it's 50 miles of throttle only, 90 miles if you use pedal assist. On it, we do have an external charging port, so once you have the battery installed into the bike, there is no need to take it back out. And last but not least, what you guys all like to hear is that the controller has an output of 60 amps, which is pretty big. So let's get started, let's get it unboxed. First step in this assembly video is we're going to be putting on the rotor onto this wheel. So what we need is our hex wrench and our rotor. What we have to do first is remove all of the hex bolts from the wheel. All right, now that we have all of the hex screws off, we can go ahead and install the rotor. Make sure when handling the rotor, try not to touch the face of the rotor with any dirty or greasy hands. We don't want to contaminate our brakes. But we just want to put the rotor down with the number facing up in the arrow. As long as that's facing up, you have it in the right orientation. Set it down. And we're going to go ahead and just tighten all these by hand first, or get them started at least by hand, just to ensure that we're not cross-threading any of the bolts. Typically, when tightening down a rotor, it is recommended that you use a torque wrench. In this case, we were not provided a torque wrench, so all I advise you to do is to just tighten them as evenly as possible, but go in a crisscross pattern. So we'll do tighten one just slightly snug, and then we'll move on to the one across. All right, now that we have the rotor on the wheel, we'll just set this aside, and first order of business is we'll get the bike looking more like an e-bike and put the handlebars on. So what we'll need is our Allen wrench set that we have provided with us in our tool case. And I believe we will be needing looks like either number 5 or 6. Let's confirm. Yes, it's a number 6. So we're just gonna go ahead and break all these loose and remove them. All right, now that we can remove the stem cap, set it aside. Take our handlebars and just make sure that they are oriented with the cables in front of the bike like always. So we're gonna set this down like this, making sure the grooves line up right in the center. Attach the cap back on. Once we have it a little more snug, we can start to orient the bars in the position that we want them. Then we can go ahead and tighten down the bolts. Try to make sure you're evenly tightening the bolts front and back. We don't want there to be a bigger gap in the front than in the back. Now to make sure it's tight, we just want to give it a wiggle, back and forth, push down on it, make sure it doesn't move up or down. Now for our next step, we're going to go ahead and install the wheel. What we'll need to do for this is remove the through axle that's already installed on the bike. And keep in mind, when removing them, you can see we do have 2 spacers here. Even size, there's one for each side. Once we have that out, we can go ahead and try to install this ourselves. Take out the brake pad safety just so that they don't the pistons don't fall out and spill oil. The easiest way for us to go ahead and do this is to go ahead and put the bike upside down. And luckily this bike is nice and small, so it will be pretty easy to put upside down. Once the bike is upside down, we can go ahead and drop the wheel into place. All right, now that we have the axle started, it should be easier to come on over to the other side. Push apart the wheel, hold the spacer in place. Once we have the through axle through enough, we can line up the fork. Now that we have the through axle fully installed, we will go ahead and reinstall the screw or the through axle bolt. We'll get that tightened down. Once we have that tightened down nice and firmly, we're gonna go ahead and tighten down these with what it looks like a number 4 Allen key. This is going to hold the through axle in place just in case if the bolt ever does get loose, it will still be held into place with the fork. All right, this bike is coming together great. Our next step will be to install the front headlight and turn signals. All right, installing the headlight is very simple and easy. The bolts for the headlight are already installed on the headlight, so we'll just unscrew them. And easy for us, the headlight mounting brackets are already installed on the front of the fork. So we'll just come over here, tighten these up by hand. Make sure that the headlight is oriented the right direction. There are letters on the headlight to make that easy for us. Yep, so we'll grab our 5mm Allen key again and make that nice and snug. And on the same mounting bracket, we can go ahead and install our turn signals. Let's take them out of the packaging. These turn signals are directional. We just want to make sure that this projector is facing down so it can illuminate off the ground. We're going to undo the nut, remove it completely, and then we're going to feed the wire through the hole in the mounting bracket. Then we're gonna go reinstall the nut. Once you get that through, you're gonna go ahead and tighten it. Usually you can get these plenty tight just by hand. As you can see, I barely tightened it with my fingers and that's not going anywhere. But for security purposes, we can go ahead and use the wrench provided in our toolkit to tighten those down. Very simple and easy. Now all we have to do is plug the light and turn signals into the wiring harness on the bike. Just match the colors to the colors. So here we go with the turn signals. We'll match those orange to orange, making sure that the arrows line up. Click right in. And later when we get the bike turned on, we will test if we plug them in correctly. We'll see if the turn signals actually go left for left and right for right. If they are mixed vice versa, then all we have to do is unplug these and switch the wires. All right, now we have the headlight and turn signals installed. Next, we are going to install the front fender. We're going to have the fender oriented this way with the longer portion in the front. We can just set it up here. And first what we're going to need to do is remove the screws and nuts for the mounting brackets. All right, now we can get this side done first. Once that's tightened down, we can reinstall the nut onto the top screw. Making sure we hold the screw on the back side, and just we can tighten that by hand to start, and then we'll come back to it later with our wrench. All right, now that that's secured, we can take one of our small wrenches from the toolkit and tighten this down the rest of the way. There we go. With the wrench, makes it nice and easy for us to tighten that down. And we'll just go ahead and do the same for the other side, and then we will be all set. All right, we are approaching the final steps of this bike assembly. Next, we are going to install the pedals, and then finally we will install the battery and then make sure this bike is all up and running. Make sure we are threading the pedals in on the correct side. We don't want to cross thread anything. Once we get that tightened by hand, or started at least by hand, we can go and take our wrench and finish it. It might seem weird, but this is spinning counterclockwise. There we go. Once we got it snug, it's all set. Then we'll go do the same for the other side. All set. Now let's go ahead and unbox the final thing, which is the battery. All right, to unbox the battery, I'm just gonna use a set of pliers to fold these up. All right, here we go. Finally got the battery unboxed. Right here we have the charging port and where we will connect the bike or the battery to the bike. All right, before we install this battery, let's go ahead and plug it in. Once you hear that click, we know it's in. Let's see, it looks like you have to remove it, you have to hold this pin and just wiggle it off. So that's where you remove it and put it on. So we'll put it back on, heard the click, and then we'll take this other cable, plug it in right here, making sure we're plugging it in the correct orientation. That looks like it's on. All right, inside of the battery cage, there is this little rubber block. We're gonna have to remove this. Pretty easy to remove. All right, once we have the battery now secured in place, we're going to install the battery cage cover. Now what I would advise before putting the cage cover on is to make sure that the bike turns on. Let's remove the keys from the front wiring harness. Put them in the ignition, turn, and see if the bike turns on. And there we go. Once the battery's all connected, we just want to make sure that the bike turns on. Looks like our hazards are working. Turn signals. Oh, so see, we have them mismatched. Left is going right and right is going left. So quick and easy fix. All we have to do is take our little plugs here and switch them. Easy enough. Now, left is going left and right is going right. Cool. Now we can go ahead and install the battery cage. It does look like the battery fits inside the frame perfectly nice and snug, so it's not going to be moving around, especially once we tighten the battery cage. That battery shouldn't be moving around at all. We can go ahead and use the ratcheting wrench that they provided us and tighten down these bolts. And there we go. Wow, that battery cage does sit nice and flush on the bike. Looks great. We can, as you can see, I'm moving the bike all around. The battery's not going anywhere. Awesome. Looks like on the rear shock here, we have a reload adjuster, faster and slower, which is awesome because it comes with a little cooling air canister, and same for the front. All right, now that we have concluded our assembly video, you can see that we now have a Mini Goat power bike. This thing is honestly sweet, guys. It's a perfect in-between of the big bikes we have to offer, and it just meets you right in the middle at a comfortable, geometrically comfortable bike. So this thing should be super fun and awesome to ride. So thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, just leave a comment down below and we'll get to them as soon as possible.